Let the glory of the Lord rise among us. Let the glory of the Lord rise among us. Let the praises to our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the songs of the Lord rise among us. Let the songs of the Lord rise among us. Let the joy of the King rise among us. Let it rise. Sing, oh, let it rise. Sing, oh, let it rise. Let the glory of the Lord rise among us. Let the glory of the Lord rise among us. Let the praises to our King rise among us. Let it rise. Let the songs of the Lord rise among us. Let the songs of the Lord rise among us. Let the joy of our King rise among us. Let it rise. Sing, oh, let it rise. Sing, oh, let it rise. Let the glory of the Lord rise among us. The glory of the Lord rise among us. The praise to our King rise among us. Let it rise. The songs of the Lord rise among us. The song of the Lord rise among us. The joy of the King rise among us. Let it Don't give a shout out to the Lord, amen? You may be seated for a while. Seated above, enthroned in the Father's love, destined to die, poured out for all mankind. God's only Son, the perfect and spotless One. He never sinned or suffered as if He did. All you are higher than any other. Our God is healer. He's awesome in power. Our God. Our God. For our God is greater and our God is stronger. And God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer. He's awesome in power. Our God. Our God. Yes, give him a shout of praise. Can we do that? He is worthy. You give life. You are love. You bring light to the darkness. You give hope. You restore every heart that is broken. Great are you, Lord. You give life. You are love. You bring light to the darkness. You give hope. You restore every Can you give the Lord a worship in this place? Just clap your hands, which really, it is a good springboard to continue about what we've been talking about over the last little while, as we've been dealing with the thought of God's heart quest. God is seeking for hearts. We've been dealing with that. And again, first you get to understand this, I think we sort of need to understand it the way, how would the Hebrews, how would the Jews be looking at this? If they were to look at something where we said to them, God is searching for hearts, God is on a heart quest, what would they be thinking? And of course, I've shared this over the last several weeks. I said the Hebrew understanding of the heart included the emotions, but it also involved the mind, the conscience, the will. It means everything that is going on inside of you. Everything. And it encompasses everything. And all the men and women whom God chose to use greatly had weaknesses and made mistakes. You understand, none of us are what? None of us are perfect. But God saw their potential if only their hearts would turn towards Him. So it is your heart that matters. It really is. What's the Bible say? Where your heart is, there your treasure is also. It really comes down to a matter of the heart. So again, I've shared this with the last series we were dealing with David, but again, I think it's such a good thing to understand. I shared it with this series that we're talking about God's heart quest. So remember this, when you invite God into your life, He cancels the liabilities of your past and rewrites your future. I know we said this already. Can we just get an amen on that? Amen. Because honestly, just think about it. Just really think about this statement I just read to you. When you invite God into your life, He cancels the liabilities of your past. Guess what that doesn't mean? The past is the past. It does not have to affect you anymore. It does not have to have a hold on you anymore. You can be set free because of Him, and He rewrites your future. But you must choose what He has chosen for you as He pursues your heart, because God is on a heart pursuit. I'm going to show that to you real briefly again this morning, and we're going to look at we're going to continue to look at the life of David. But as God pursues your heart, you must pursue His heart. And I have made this clear. That is precisely the difference between Saul and David. Even though God changed Saul's heart, Saul did not allow it to stay changed. Saul wanted to go his own route, his own path, and everything else. But David was a different type of person altogether. Again, we use these verses here to give us a basic understanding. This thing about God's heart quest, because here's what we read. 1 Samuel chapter 13, verse 14, it says, "But now your kingdom must end." Samuel was talking to Saul. He said, "But now your kingdom must end, for God has sought out a man after His own heart." So God gave him a new heart, but the problem was Saul didn't want to seek God's heart. And then he said, "The Lord has sought out a man after His own heart, and the Lord has already appointed him to be the leader of His people, because you have not kept the Lord's command." And then we read, we know he's referring to a guy named David, who later on becomes king. But we read this almost 1,000 years after that is said. Paul reiterates it again in Acts chapter 13 and verse 22, when he says, "But God removed Saul and replaced him with David, a man about whom God said, I have found." You may be saying, God is looking. Because it's, you notice I have it highlighted up there. You see it? God says, "I have found David, son of Jesse." What is he? "A man after my own heart." And he prefaced that. The reason why he says that is why? Because he will do everything I want him to do. That is the litmus test on whether or not you truly, God has your heart or not. When He speaks, not only will you listen, but will you do? Will you put that listening into action? And this is something that is said about David. But again, how important is your heart in serving God? Jeremiah 29:13. Well, many times we hear Jeremiah 29:11. But 13 is a very key component to what's being said in verse 11. Verse 13 says, "And you will seek me and find me when you search for me." How? With all your heart. We will find God. In fact, we won't even really start seeking Him when all of a sudden we tell our heart to do that.
He says, you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all your heart. So again, anytime God describes someone as a man after his own heart, we need to study them very carefully. So let's continue to discover and look at the life about who God was referring. And this guy, we know his name is David. Last week, as we were talking about David, I was talking about how David, his heart pursuit of God in his battle, how he displayed that in his battle with Goliath. And, I'm not going to rehash a lot of that, but I just want to, that's what we used. I showed you how David's pursuit of God's heart allowed him to be victorious in this battle with Goliath. And because of his pursuit, David saw the potential of what his faith and trust in God could do. He saw that his God was bigger and more capable to deliver him than the bigness of the situation to defeat him. And we went over that last week. Remember, I brought in the 15-pound weight and said, that's just his spearhead. I was showing you all that stuff. But David was victorious not because he was a better warrior than Goliath. Because Goliath, in all honesty, from a very human standpoint, David was on a suicide mission. From a human outlook and view, David didn't stand a chance. And then I shared this last week. David and Goliath, whether someone's in church or not, whether they know anything about the Bible or not, people, they always hear the phrase, David and Goliath. Because what? It's always what? An impossibility against something that should crush them. And that's what David faced. But yet we found out through his faith in God, through his heart pursuit of God, he was victorious in that situation. David truly realized who was in charge. And we need to get to that place, and we need to stay at that place in our walk of faith, in our pursuit of Jesus Christ. So we're going to continue to look at God's heart quest. But to sort of begin the message this morning, because I'm setting you up this morning, okay? There's just some questions. To start this message off, there's some questions I really want to ask you, because it's going to really determine how we go here and how you view things. But the first question I ask is this: have you ever been wronged or treated unfairly for no reason? Have you ever been there? I mean, you're trying to do what's right, but yet when you try to do what's right, it seems like all you get in return is sour lemons. Maybe you like lemons. I don't know. So I'm not trying to dish on lemons this morning, okay? But have you ever been wronged or treated unfairly for no reason, for something that especially if you didn't deserve? I get amazed at people that get upset when they're treated a certain way when they deserve it. Okay, that's when I believe get what you deserve. My favorite phrase. I hate that phrase. That's all you hear on the news, on advertising. Get what you deserve. You really want what you deserve? We're not going to go this morning. Let me stop. I'll go down that road. I don't want to go down that road. But yeah, have you ever been wronged or treated unfairly for no reason? And the next question is, how did you respond? How did you respond to that treatment? How did you respond to that situation? What was your reaction to that person? How did you treat them in return, or possibly even before? Now again, if you were treated unfairly, hopefully that means that you were treating them properly beforehand. But once it happened, how did you treat them? How did you respond? How did you react? And that's what I want to look at today as we look at the life of David. We're going to look at David's life and how he responds to some situations that are going on. You got to remember, David was anointed to be king. He knew it. He was anointed to be king. And David, he had a great victory over this giant who was taunting and ridiculing the Israelites for 40 days and 40 nights. One day, I may preach a message on the 40 days and 40 night things, or the 40-40 in the Bible. Maybe one day I'll get there and I'll sort of talk about that. But I'll know that number shows up quite a bit in the Bible, 40-40, you know? So for 40 days and 40 nights, 2 times a day, he taunted the children of Israel. Fact is, it got to be so much that as soon as he came out, they started to run. They started to run like little rabbits. And I said last week, why didn't like 100 of them? Why didn't like 100 of them? Just sort of say, okay, let's all 100 rush him at one time and take him out. But they did. They ran like scared little rabbits. Now again, I want to tell you, if we were in that crowd, odds are, unless we were David, we probably would have ran too. Because unfortunately, we take on what's called the mob mentality. And usually what the rest of the mob does, guess what? We do. But David, he stands up, and so we see he has a great victory there. Then we begin to see he's introduced to the Saul's court. We dealt with this, dealing with Saul and all that, and how Saul loved him. In fact, I'm going to bring up to just for your remembrance, in our last message on Saul, when we dealt with from success to madness, we discovered how King Saul went from loving David very much to becoming so jealous of David that he constantly tried to kill him. In 1 Samuel chapter 18, verses 5 through 9, we read this. It says, whatever Saul asked David to do, David did it successfully. So I'm going to tell you something about David. He was good at what he did. Whatever he went to do, David did successfully. So Saul made him a commander over the men of war and appointed him, and the appointment was welcomed by the people and Saul's officers alike. When the victorious Israelite army was returning home after David had killed the Philistine, women from all the towns of Israel came out to meet King Saul, and they sang and they danced for joy with tambourines and cymbals. And I'm pretty sure 7 will be up on the screen now. And this was their song. Saul has killed his thousands, and David his 10,000s. This made Saul very... he was glad, right? Now, what's it say? It made Saul very angry. What is this, he said. They credit David with 10,000 and me with only thousands. Next, they'll make him their king. Little did he know about what... All right. So from that time on, from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. So again, I want to remind you what Saul was doing to David. Okay, in chapter 18 of 1 Samuel, Saul hurls a spear at David. Saul makes David commander of over 1,000, hoping that the Philistines, Israel's enemies, would kill him. Well, he was constantly sending him out campaigns, hoping that somehow, some way, the enemy may get a lucky shot. Saul even offers his youngest daughter, Michal, for David after he promised David his oldest daughter, but he married her off to somebody else, which was a slap in his face. Then he offers David his youngest daughter, that if David would deliver to him 100 Philistines' foreskins, which meant to get that, you had to get off a person. He didn't just give him 100, he gave him 200. But still didn't kill David. In chapter 19, Saul orders Jonathan and his servants to kill David. So Jonathan, you know the thing about Jonathan? Jonathan was David's probably best friend. And Jonathan was Saul's son. But yet Saul wanted Jonathan and his other servants to kill David. Saul slings his spear at David again. In fact, 3 or 4 times throughout David serving Saul in his court, Saul tries to pin him to the wall with a spear. First off, he goes, David, you need to get out of it, right? But especially after the second time. First time he said, maybe he's just mad, it's just a slip, whatever. But after the second time, come on now, Saul sends messengers to David's house to kill him. Saul's at home with his wife Michal, who is Saul's daughter, and he sends men there to kill him. Then at a different time, in chapter 19, Saul sends 3 groups of men to Naioth to take David, and they fell in doing it, so he himself comes, and then he ends up he doesn't come. So again, all of that's in that message. So again, all of this stuff is happening. But before I look at David's response to Saul's treatment, I ask you, how would you respond? If this dude was coming against you to wipe you out, how would you respond? What would you do? How would you react? What would your posture be? What would your defenses be like? What would be the planning that is going on in your mind? But I'm telling you, if you're human in this place this morning, odds are you yourself would be planning a game of attack. You'd be planning a defense. A way to strike if the door was to open. Am I right? Because why? Again, it's not like Saul did this once. But Saul was doing this time and time and time and time again. So how did David respond to Saul's treatment? To Saul's actions? And well, let me not get too far ahead of myself. There is a reason why I'm going here today. In 1 Samuel 24, verse 1 through the first part of verse 4, here's what we read. It says, after Saul returned from fighting the Philistines, he was told that David had gone into the wilderness of En-Gedi. And Saul chose 3,000 elite troops from all Israel and went to search for David with his men near the rocks of the wild goats. At the place where the road passes some sheepfolds, Saul went into a cave to relieve himself. Oh, you know what this is? Saul went to a cave to do what? Use the bathroom. Okay? But as it happened, it just happened. If you know anything about this area there, I'm here to tell you, there are caves all over the place. So in other words, it wasn't like when he was in Gedi, that this was the only cave available. There are caves all over the place. If you've been to Israel in an area, you know what I'm talking about. There are caves everywhere. So let that be in your mind right now, okay? There are caves everywhere. Saul could have chosen any cave. And it says, at the place where the road passes some sheepfolds, Saul went to the cave to relieve himself. But as it happened, David and his men were hiding farther back in that very cave. Oh, who would have thunk it? Who would have thought, right? He's in that very cave. Now listen. Now's your opportunity. David's men whisper to him, today the Lord is telling you, I will certainly put your enemy into your power. Do with it as you wish. So David crept forward. What would you have done? What would be going through your mind? See, again, like I said, there were many caves there. Many, many caves there. And Saul happens to choose the one that David has been in. We already know David's being led by the Lord. You know, God's keeping him, keeping his hand upon him. He's leading God directly. Because so far, through all of this junk that Saul's been trying to do, God has allowed David to escape. Now, when he's running from Saul and hiding from Saul, God presents, or at least this is the way it appears. Now, instead of David running from his enemy, without his enemy realizing it, it looks like God is presenting his enemy to David. And his men realizes they're dirty whisper like, David. Look, God's brought him right in here. The army's not there, because who in his army is going to watch him, God's delivered him into your hands. It's time to strike. Like I said, how many of us, if we were in a situation, what would be going through our mind? What would we be thinking? Honestly, we'd probably be thinking, man, you know what? These guys are right, man. God has delivered this person into my hands to where I can finally end this thing. Am I right? Honestly, because just on the outward appearance, that's really what it looks like. And let's not try to say, well, Pastor, I would shut up. I'm sorry, none of us are as spiritual as you. Well, hopefully the place when we truly we get to that place. Because there is something I really want to try to help you understand today. So it says, this is presented David, and his men telling that thing that, and I guess, and he says, and what's the last part left on that verse? So David crept forward. I could see the guys now basically saying, don't worry, David. If something happens, got your back. Got your back. We're here. Because they did. I mean, these, later on, if you read stuff about David's life, man, these 600 dudes that were with him that were truly outlaws and everything else in Israel ended up being some of his mightiest warriors and greatest fighters. Okay, I mean, they did some pretty awesome feats later on in his reign. So as you know, I guess I ruined it for you, David's going to become king. But of course you knew that, because if you know anything about the Bible, you know there's a king there called what? King David. So what did David do? So David crept forward and cut off a piece of the hem of Saul's robe. You probably say, are you serious? You're gonna mess with his robe? What's over? It's come on, man. You know. But what to do says. So David crept forward and cut off a piece of the hem of Saul's robe. But listen to this. But then David's conscience began bothering him because he had cut Saul's robe. Again, come on, man. Look what this dude has been doing to you. And now you're bothered because instead of taking him out, you cut a piece of his robe off, and now you feel convicted about that. I mean, that's literally what is going on here. And it says that he said to his men, now listen to this. You want to talk about someone. This is the point I want you to get to. Someone who has trust in God. Talk about trust, because listen to this. He said to his men, the Lord forbid that I should do this to my Lord the king. You know, again, from our standpoint, this dude deserves none of our loyalty. Did you hear me? From our human standpoint, this guy, Saul, deserves none of our loyalty. Because all he's been trying to do is what? Mess with us, kill us, take us out, wreak havoc in our lives. Why should I be loyal to someone who's trying to destroy me? You need to understand, it wasn't that David, well, yes, he was loyal to Saul, but it wasn't that he was really loyal to Saul, per se. He was being loyal to Saul because why? He was loyal to God. He understood that if God is truly leading, God directing his steps, that God will take care of the situation. Because again, we'll find this out here in just a second. He says that I should, God forbid, should do to the Lord, my Lord the King. I shouldn't attack the Lord's anointed one. For the Lord himself has chosen him. And yet you feel like saying, but David, yeah, but the Lord himself has rejected him. So David restrained his men. He literally, at that point, he even had to hold back his men. He restrained his men and did not let them kill Saul. And after Saul had left the cave and gone on his way, David came out and shouted after him, my Lord the king. You folks say, come on, David, just let him go. You know, just let him go. But he says, my Lord the king. And when Saul looked around, David bowed low before him. Talk about some trust, because when you actually read that statement there, it literally sounds like what? He was what? Pretty close proximity to Saul. What was Saul there to do? To kill him. Saul leaves the cave and David comes out and says, bows low before him, so he's in close proximity. So, in all honesty, what could Saul have possibly done very easily? Pulled out a sword and, or just tell the army, rush in and take him. Again, it goes to show David's trust, not in Saul. Understand that to me. See, it's not that we're trusting those individuals. David wasn't showing trust in them. David's heart wasn't pursuing Saul. David's heart was pursuing what? God. God's heart. And because of that, he had an extreme amount of faith in what God declared over his life. And literally, he put himself in harm's way. But I guess he figured through the Lord, he figured, you know, well, now Saul will truly, honestly realize I'm not out to hurt him, because we can come to that rationalization because of what we're going to read next. But I have down here, what do you think of David's response? How many of us would respond in the same way? But not only that, listen to what David says. And then he shouted to Saul, "Why do you listen to the people who say, I'm trying to harm you? This very day you can see with your own eyes it isn't true. For the Lord placed you at my mercy back there in the cave. Some of my men told me to kill you, but I spared you, for I said, I will never harm the king. He is the Lord's anointed one." In other words, David is telling him, even if Saul got the wind, that David was anointed to be the next king. Which by this time I'm pretty sure Saul knew this. But he's letting Saul know, you need to understand something. I understand you're the anointed one. You're the one that God has anointed to be the leader of Israel. He says, I will never harm the king, the Lord's. He is the Lord's anointed one. Look, my father. So all of a sudden now, he begins to not only address him as king, but he's also understanding what? You know, I'm married to your daughter. You're my father-in-law. I'm a member of your family. Look, my father, at what I have in my hand. It is a piece of the hem of your robe. I cut it off, but I didn't kill you. This proves that I'm not trying to harm you, and that I have not sinned against you, even though you have been hunting for me to kill me. May the Lord judge between us. Perhaps the Lord will punish you for what you are trying to do to me, but I will never harm you. He says, maybe God will get you. Maybe God's going to punish you. But he's saying, from my perspective, he's going to be the only one who does it, because on my part, I will never harm you. No matter what you do to me, I'm not going to harm you. Wow. Wow. You do remember what I talked about, what Saul was trying to do today before, right? See, all of this was happening before this. All of this stuff was going on before what we're seeing here. The fact is, David, he's on the run, hiding from Saul because Saul's trying to kill him. And yet he's trying to assure his king, I will never do anything to harm you. If God does, that's fine. But me, no. Me, no. And it continues. David continues, says, as that old proverb says, from evil people come evil deeds. Guess what? Sinners sin. Surprise, surprise. Should be shocked. They're sinners. Evil people do evil things. Why? Because they're evil people. From evil people come evil deeds. So you can be sure I will never harm you. What is David saying there? I'm not evil. I'm good. And because I'm good, you can be assured that I will never do anything wrong towards you. I will always do what's right. See, we as believers, we need to get to a place where we have that kind of reputation among others that they would never call in question our integrity, because they know that we'll always do the right thing. Because no matter how hard and how difficult circumstance is, we rely on God to take care of it. And I guess I could say, could that be said of you? And he says, who is the king of Israel trying to catch anyway? Should he spend his time chasing after one who is as worthless as a dead dog or a single flea? I mean, David's comparing himself to a dead dog and a flea. How big's a flea? Everybody ever tried to get a flea off a dog or a cat? That's fun, isn't it? I never once in a while, once again, we'll try to get, man, it's amazing how quick they can move through that hair. And you're trying, yeah. But man, I mean, they're so small and quick. But they say, basically, I'm a flea. He says, and may the Lord therefore judge which of us is right and punish the guilty one. He is my advocate, and he will rescue me from your power. So he got to a place where David just simply let him know. He said, Saul, I won't harm you, but I'm going to let you know too. God's my defender, and he will deliver me from you. See, that's a place where we need to get. That's an attitude we need to have. That God's our advocate. God's our defender. And he will deliver. Too many times we try to step in. And I have this statement that says, and even though David spared Saul's life, and you can read on there, read on furthermore about Saul's responsible stuff. Saul once again comes after David to kill him. There's another time, later on, Saul comes to get him. In chapter 26 of 1 Samuel, read this. It says, when David learned that Saul had come after him into the wilderness, he sent out spies to verify the report of Saul's arrival. David slipped over to Saul's camp one night and looked around. Saul and Abner, son of Ner, the commander of his army, were sleeping inside a ring formed by the surrounding warriors. So imagine, again, he had another 3,000 men with him. And in the very middle of the entire camp was Saul and Abner. And there were rings of soldiers just began to go out. So in other words, to get to where they are, you had to get past these other dudes. 3,000. I mean, so Saul was pretty well insulated. Pretty well kept. Who will volunteer to go with me? David asked Ahimelech, the Hittite, and Abishai, the son of Zechariah, Joab's brother. I will go with you, Abishai. Abishai replied. So David and Abishai went right into Saul's camp and found him asleep, with his spear stuck in the ground beside his head. Ooh, talk about an omen. No. Abner and the soldiers were lying asleep around him. God has surely handed your enemy over to you this time, Abishai whispered to David. Now listen to this. Let me pin him to the ground with one thrust of the spear. I won't need to strike twice. See, David's men already knew what? That David was not going to kill Saul. They knew that. So they basically said, tell you what, we'll take the burden for you. Let me, I will take care of this. Your hands can stay clean, and I will kill Saul for you. I will kill Saul for you. Question for you. Would you take them up on their offering? Honestly, many of us, we would. Because we could say, you know what, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. God brought someone else here and allowed someone else here to take care of it for me. Would you let someone else do the dirty work for you? Of course, you probably know about how things have sort of go so far. When I say this, what was David's response? You probably already know probably what the response is going to be. Verse 9 says, no, David said, don't kill him. For who can remain innocent after attacking the Lord's anointed one? See, and I love how David goes back to that, but I always want to go back and say, but David, listen up. God removed his anointing from Saul. Well, I can't say his anointing. He removed his spirit from Saul. So in a sense, he removed his anointing. So come on. Come on. He's not deserving of God's protection. He's not deserving of this loyalty because he rejected God. We need to reject him too. Because this is literally, I'm telling you, this is probably what David was hearing in his ears. But David says, surely the Lord will strike Saul down someday, or he will die. And listen, he says, surely the Lord will strike Saul down someday. Either God's going to kill him, or God will let him die of old age, or in battle. The Lord forbid that I should kill the one he has anointed. But take his spear and the jug of water beside his head, and then let us get out of here. So David took the spear and the jug of water that were near Saul's head, and then he and Abishai got away out without anyone seeing them or even waking up, because the Lord had put Saul's men into a deep sleep. Now again, even though it says the Lord put him into a deep sleep, so you would think since the Lord did this, that truly, why not just take care of the problem then, right? You understand? I'm trying to get you from a human standpoint to think this stuff. I'm not telling you that's what you need. I'm just trying to help you understand why wouldn't David have thought this. That's what I'm trying to get you to understand. Why would not have David have thought this? Especially if they snuck in, nobody saw them. They're leaving out, no one wakes up. I mean, either they were as stealthy as could be, but as we read there, what God allowed them to be in a deep sleep. So David, once again, shows his respect and love for Saul by sparing his life. And David, he gets a little bit away. He stands on top of a hill and he begins to holler out, Abner! Abner! And he's loud, he's yelling so loud that all of a sudden the army begins to wake up. And he says, Abner, you mighty man of war! You should die. You should be killed. Why didn't you take care of your king? And I can see them rousing up, and all of a sudden, Saul begins to notice, guess what? His spear's gone. His spear's gone. And his jug of water's gone. Abner! Why didn't you protect your king? Why did you let someone sneak into the camp who could have killed him? You should die, Abner. And all of a sudden it says, so Saul began to say something. Saul says, is that my son David? And then David begins to share with him that he spared his life again. And in verse 21 through 25, we read this, it says, and then Saul confessed, I have sinned. Come back home, my son, and I will no longer try to harm you. For you valued my life today. You feel like saying, today, only today, only today, only today? You have valued my life today. I have been a fool and very, very wrong. Here is your spear, O King David replied. Let one of your young men come over and get it. The Lord gives his own reward for doing good and for being loyal. And I refuse to kill you even when the Lord placed you in my power, for you are the Lord's anointed one. Now may the Lord value my life, even as I have valued yours today. May he rescue me from all my troubles. And Saul said to David, blessings on you, my son David. You will do many heroic deeds, and you will surely succeed. If I'm not mistaken, some of the versions are saying you will truly reign. You will truly succeed. Then David went away, and Saul returned home. And I had down here, I said, would you describe your response? How would you describe your response in your situations? How do you respond? When it seems like something like this is happening, where so much is constantly coming against you, when you're being treated unfairly, how are you responding? How are you responding? See, David realized that as long as he trusted in God and pursued God's heart, that God had his back. It wasn't easy, but David trusted God for his future. And that's what I want you to really understand today. I want to close with a couple of verses here. So how should we respond when we're faced with maybe somewhat similar type situations? Jesus, as always, says it best. In Matthew chapter 5, verses 11 through 12, it says this: God blesses you when people mock you and persecute you and lie about you and say all sorts of evil things against you because you are my followers. What does it say? God blesses you. But he doesn't stop there. Be happy about it. You're probably saying, what? Have you lost your mind? I mean, let's be honest. Really, let's be honest. Because the human side of us, what do we do? We want to strike back. We want to defend. But Jesus says, be happy about it. Be very glad. For a great reward awaits you in heaven. And remember, the ancient prophets were persecuted in the same way. But you know the key there is he says, when this happens, because you are my followers. See, David was pursuing God's heart. And David was trying to stay obedient to God. David was staying obedient to God, yet Saul was coming after him and after him and after him. But David never lost sight of the promise of God declared over him. Others, David trusted God completely. David pursued God's heart wholeheartedly. And that's why he was finding God in these situations. That's why God was delivering him out of these situations, because he did not waver in his trust in what God declared over his life. And see, we need to get to the same place also. See, we need to get to the place, as even Paul wrote in Romans 8:28, where he says, and we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who, what? Who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Either God can be trusted in what he's declared over our life, or he can't be. And if he can't be trusted, I'm going to tell you now, go do whatever you want. Go live life to the fullest. But as we read the Word of God, we find God can be trusted time and time and time again. He never promised us it would be easy. Did you hear me? He never promised us it would be easy. But he promised he'd be with us and he'd see us through. The question is, do you trust him to do that? And I'm going to tell you, you need to, because he's shown himself faithful time and time again. But unless you put your faith and trust in him, he won't declare that in your life. Because he's not going to make you receive something that you don't believe. So no matter your situation, the problem you're facing, God is bigger and stronger than it. When we truly pursue God's heart, we will see and understand who is truly in charge. I'm asking musicians to come up. As I ended the message with last week with these verses, I'm going to end it today with these verses also. Because of that, because we see how God delivered David, like I said, and from the complete beginning. As we saw his battle with Goliath, how it seemed completely insane. Let's be honest. It looked insane. That this little dude was going to take out this dude. But it wasn't about the two people in the battle per se. It was about the one that the other one believed in that caused the battle to be victorious. And the same thing it comes to us. It's who we put our faith and our trust in. It's all about keeping our eyes upon him, upon the Lord, upon Jesus. And when we do that, we can realize again, as with Paul's a guy you understand. He was through a lot of messed up stuff. You know, how Saul pursued David, tried to kill him all the time. Paul was constantly, just for simply proclaiming the gospel of Jesus Christ. Saying that Jesus Christ is alive. The reason why Paul faced what he faced was him saying, he's telling people Jesus Christ is alive. He's the answer. He's the answer. He's alive. He rose from the dead. And because of that, the Bible tells us that he was shipwrecked 3 times. He was beaten with stripes without number, he says. He knew what it was to be naked and cold and hungry numerous times. But yet it never caused his faith and trust in God to waver, which allowed him to write what he wrote here to the church at Corinth. 1 Corinthians 15, verses 57 through 58. He says, but thank God, he gives us victory over sin and death through our Lord Jesus Christ. Through Jesus, guess what? We have victory. Did you hear me? Through Jesus, we have victory. Through Jesus, we have victory over sin and death. Which means, through Jesus, you don't have to yield to sin anymore. These people who teach us stuff, you have to sin a little bit every day, they need to be slapped upside their head. Man, I understand none of us are perfect. But you can't get in a place where you're pursuing God so much, where you don't have to sin every day. Because either it is true that he's given us victory over sin, and I'm talking about more than just him paying for the price on Calvary, because if you really read the book of Romans, you'll find out Paul talks about that a lot. That we don't have to yield to the power of sin anymore. You begin to yield to the power of sin when you take your eyes off of Jesus. Did you hear me? Understand it very clearly. You yield to sin when you take your eyes off Jesus. Did you hear me? You yield to sin when you take your eyes off Jesus. As long as your eyes are on him, he's not going to lead you astray. It's when you get distracted. But thank God, he gives us victory over sin and death through our Lord Jesus Christ. So he says this, so my dear brothers and sisters, be strong and immovable. Always work enthusiastically for the Lord, for you know that nothing you do for the Lord is ever useless. People may have thought David was completely out of his mind reacting the way he reacted. But as history bears out, the way David reacted, it ended up putting him in a place where God can truly come in a miraculous way and make him king. And what God said about David, when Samuel uttered these words to Saul, he says, God has sought out a man after his own heart. He's already appointed him. He's already chosen him. Because every king in Israel, after David died, was compared to him on whether or not their heart was pursuing the heart of God. Every single one was compared to him. And you weren't considered a good king unless you were somewhat similar to David. And to the best of my knowledge, there were only 2 kings after him, none in Israel, but 2 over Judah, where God said they pursued him like their father David did. One was Hezekiah, one was Josiah. And God did some wonderful things in their kingdoms. But because of what Jesus did, we can press on. We can press on. We can press on. And again, the whole point of all this is because I want us to get to a place, what was said of David can be said of us. That God can say, you can insert your name here again. I'm inserting my name here because my name just has to be David. I'm just not repeating what the Bible says, even though it's going to sound like repeating what the Bible says. I'm inserting my name. I have found David, the son of Randall. My dad's name wasn't Jesse. His name was an old name. I don't know anybody who named that name anymore. I found David, son of Randall. A man after my own heart. He will do everything I want him to do. I want that when it's all said and done. See, this was said and done about David. God proclaimed it before. He's a man after his own heart. But when David died, it was still said of David. See, and David wasn't perfect, but the difference was when David messed up. And God spoke, David changed. Listen. And that's where we need to get. See, as I'm saying, I'm not saying you got to be perfect, but when God speaks, do you automatically assume that? Do you want to make an excuse? Or do you want to say, Lord, you're right? And I humble before you. I listen to you. See, See, that's why God could say to David what he said about David. And when he spoke. Later on, we're going to touch about David, his failure, and how he handled it. But oh, I want God to say this about David. And I pray you want God to say that about you. And as an invitation this morning, you can probably hear the song that's playing in the background. And all to Jesus, I surrender. And here's the key, what it says, and all to you I freely give. Then I will ever love and trust you. And in your presence, I will live. I would encourage you to take that kind of stance today. Get to a place where you say, Lord, I'm giving you my all. Because I want it to be said of me, I'm a man, I'm a woman after your own heart. See, but you're the only one who can decide to do that. You're the only one who can decide to listen when he speaks. What are you going to do with God has presented you with today? What is the Holy Spirit trying to impress upon your heart today? What is he trying to speak to your life right now? And as he's speaking, how are you going to respond? Is it going to be in a spirit of humility and humbleness? Or is it going to be a spirit of